Welcome to my 10th review from the Melbourne International Film Festival. I'm a little late now, I know, but we're here to talk about one of the two Richard Linklater films that I saw at the festival, Nouvelle Vague, and I thought I'd channel my inner Jean-Luc Godard for this review. So, let's get into it. So this movie is basically one of those movies about making a movie. Well, that's so Inception right now, but this film is a very stunning... So this film covers the whole creative process behind Breathless, Jean-Luc Godard's feature film that was fundamental in the French New Wave. The film is captured and said to be providing the essence of Jean-Luc Godard throughout the process of this film. And stylistically, you can notice that right out the jump. What this film does, I thought, was so impressive and made for just such a good theatrical experience that demanded to be seen on the biggest screen possible. This is easily one of the most visually impressive films I have seen all year, with a stunning use of black and white and its aspect ratio, both feeling as authentic as possible. The way it incorporates language and just the essence of this movie as a whole feels so earnest in their attempt to recapture the way that Breathless was filmed and the spontaneity behind it, which made for an overall really charming film that both showcased how impressive Richard Linklater can be as a filmmaker, while also feeling kind of invisible throughout the process. And I think all of these things combined to make a very fluid experience that was incredibly powerful in moments and captured something that I personally am just so passionate about. I would say while visually it definitely is capturing that essence of Jean-Luc Godard, the way that the film is structured feels very in line with a lot of what Richard Linklater has done in the past, as a lot of this feels like a hangout movie about real people making a film. And as this movie progresses, you get so connected with these characters, and I haven't quite seen a biopic told in such a way. It's not going for something incredibly ambitious, but the way that it effortlessly makes you connect with everyone involved with this process and get easily charmed by it, while incorporating some very interesting and serious conversations about cinema throughout, I thought was incredibly powerful in the most subtle way possible. And that kind of filmmaking I just found to be very impressive. I was also caught by surprise with how many scenes I personally connected with. A big goal of mine since I made this YouTube channel was to one day build it up to the point where I could get an invite to the Cannes Film Festival, earn that spot that is so hard to get to. And in the beginning of this movie, Jean-Luc Godard is trying to see a screening of The 400 Blows at Cannes, and just seeing how eager he is to attend that film festival and attend that screening kind of felt like something that I could easily relate to, and instantly hooked me to this movie and connected me with Luc Godard and who he eventually became as a filmmaker, because he didn't start off as one, and he continued his whole life to write about films in essay format. And that's very interesting that he saw both sides of the filmmaking process, whether that was through a review or through actually making a film himself. He wanted to put his money where his mouth is, and the way that this goes through this journey once again feels so effortless. It's not even the fact that these stylistic choices agree with me. There are singular shots within this movie that'll be etched in my mind forever, like a powerful close-up of Zoe Deutch's character near the end of the film as she's playing Jean Seberg throughout this movie, and that dynamic that she has with Jean-Luc Godard throughout is what strings together some of the conflict within this movie. Through this hangout film feel and giving you a lot of these different conversations gives you a much greater insight into Jean-Luc Godard and his feelings about cinema. There is one at a diner table about the pure escapism of cinema that resonated with me so much. I love how unbiased this feels at times regarding Luc Godard, as he has such an unorthodox approach to his direction. He wants to get shots out as quickly as possible. He wants every shot to feel as authentic as possible. And he doesn't mind missing out on continuity errors and being overly meticulous. It is the 180 complete opposite to a director like David Fincher, who is so meticulous about everything. And while that can work for others, it doesn't work for some other filmmakers. And Jean-Luc Godard is someone that wants to keep it going and have 1 to 2 hour work days. He sounded like a great boss to work for, because he would just do 1 or 2 scenes and he's like, okay, the day's done, quick takes, let's move on. It's very efficient, but it had the producers in the movie going, what the hell is going on here? We spent all this money and you're rushing through it so fast, but at the same time, you're taking sick days, you're not doing full days, you're not getting through the movie as quickly as you should. And he just continues to stick to his guns and approach this film the way that he ultimately wants. The back and forth he has with Gene Seberg I found to be incredibly riveting. There are scenes in this that are both so well comedically timed, from this weird direction to just having this conflict as Seberg just does not believe in Luc Godard's approach to direction and what is going on here and the vision behind it all. And seeing these two slowly harmonize their voices and collaborate is the magic of this movie, I believe. Some scenes just stick out so well in my mind because they communicate so much within that single scene. There is this conflict about the creative process, the comedy of Luc Godard's direction, the producer trying to salvage the film and turn it into something profitable, and at points an intersectionality of culture that weaves so well throughout the film, as you have people from all different walks of life creating this one vision. It always felt so breezy and light, despite it managing to say quite a lot throughout. And to me, that kind of efficiency in communicating this story is what makes Nouvelle Vague so impressive. And then you have all of these wonderful technical additions that make this film look absolutely stunning all throughout, with its beautiful black and white and 4:3 aspect ratio. Guillaume Malbec gives perhaps one of my favorite performances of the entire year as Jean-Luc Godard. He feels just so authentic in this role. I believe every single frame he's in, I believe that is Jean-Luc Godard embodied throughout the entire movie, and it never slips up once. I also think Zoe Deutsch as Gene Seberg is incredibly impressive and gives one of the best supporting performances of the entire year. I loved these characters so much, and the way that it just pulls me in and grips me to the screen every single time these two are speaking. I love how unbiased the film can be. I love that Jean-Luc Godard is seen as so pretentious by everyone around him, and they criticize him for that. And you see that all throughout, but he always sticks to his guns. He always believes in what he does, and he can be kooky and he has all these weird ideas, but then you start to see the process begin to form. And while he isn't a clear genius and perfect with everything he does, the vision is there. And there's a great moment in an editing room that kind of shows how in love with their own movie a director can be, as he just doesn't want a single thing cut. He wants Breathless to be like 3 hours long, and the producer's like, dude, we have to turn this into something watchable. We have to cut this down. And without that back and forth with someone who is conflicting with your ideas and giving you feedback, you're not going to have the best possible product. And that's just human nature. And I think that is something that was very interesting, because in a lot of movies like this, the producer is seen as someone just evil and just trying to prevent the geniusness. And while at times it can feel like that, as it moves on and goes into its third act, you see it's more of something that was built off a real friendship where these two do trust each other. And while the producer is always criticizing and maybe stepping on Luc Godard's toes at some points, he also wants to create the best possible movie here that audiences will enjoy. And you get to see a bit of both sides go back and forth. And I think that is a real authentic way of approaching the process of filmmaking. I would say if there was something that a lot of people would criticize is the way that a lot of people in this movie are introduced. It plays like a still frame with the name of that person at the bottom of the screen, and sometimes it felt unnecessary as it would do that, and then the very next scene the person would walk in and be like, "Hi, I'm this person," and it's like, well, why did we need that previously? To be honest, I ended up not minding it because it ends up playing a little bit of a role in, I guess, the credits of the movie, and it's not the most necessary decision to go down that path. But there was also something that reminded me of just the beauty of the French New Wave and some filmmakers that have taken inspiration from those kind of choices, like Wes Anderson, for example. And by the end of the movie, I didn't mind a choice like that because it just felt unique. It felt like it was just playing proper tribute to the French New Wave, an era of film that was incredibly important, especially for European cinema. Overall, Nouvelle Vague charmed the hell out of me. It's one of my favorite movies of the year. I highly recommend you check it out, and I hope to God you can see it on the biggest screen possible because it is so worthy of that. The performances, Richard Linklater's amazing direction, just the spirit of this movie feels like a clear love letter to cinema in the best possible way. It doesn't feel cynical at all. It just feels like someone who loves movies making something about an incredibly important time in its history. And I really, really adore that as someone who has a lot of passion towards the art form. And so as a score, I'm going to have to give Nouvelle Vague a 5 out of 5 because it's one of my favorite movies of the year. And I think that this is a must watch. And those are my thoughts towards Nouvelle Vague. If you've seen the movie, let me know what you think about it in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.